It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to episode number 1006 of Locked On Raptors for Monday, August the 16th. I'm your host, Sean Woodley of RaptorsHQ.com. You can find me on Twitter as always, at WoodleySean, and you can find the show at Locked On Raptors, where you can find links to every single episode of the podcast. You can also find the podcast now on YouTube. You can see me now if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you for being here. If you are listening to the podcast version, all the power to you, but there is an option. Of course, if you go to YouTube and search up Locked On Raptors, you'll be able to find the show, subscribe, and support the show in video form. It's very exciting. I happen to have no voice today on the very first YouTube episode, which is unfortunate. I was screaming at a concert last night, which in hindsight was maybe not the best idea, but that's okay because most of today's show was recorded on Friday morning with a wonderful guest. It is Leonard Hamilton, the head coach of the Florida State Seminoles, of course, was the head coach of Scottie Barnes at Florida State during his freshman season, his one and only college season this past year. And we talked to Leonard all about Scottie Barnes, got to know what kind of makes him tick as a person, what's going to be what drives him in the NBA, and how is he going to adapt to NBA life? Does he have the sort of makeup to make the improvements he's going to have to make good on the number 4 overall pick potential? It was a really great chat. Had a wonderful time talking to Leonard. It was great. And there's lots of good Scottie Barnes nuggets in there. That's coming up in segments 2 and 3. To start, though, we should quickly hit on Summer League over the weekend. I was at a family get-together on Saturday, so I missed the game, but I did catch a bunch of highlights, multiple highlights. I watched all the Scottie Barnes highlights about 9 times over. The Toronto Raptors moved to 3-1 in Summer League with an 80-79 comeback win over the Charlotte Hornets on Saturday down in Vegas. And it was a pretty exciting one. You know, you got Scottie Barnes doing Scottie Barnes things, which apparently are a thing that we're getting to know, and it's a pretty exciting thing to see. He had 23 points in the game. He was, kind of the reason they ended up coming back in this one. And you saw a lot of the stuff that, it's not going to all be there from day one with Scottie Barnes, but you saw a lot of the reasons why the Raptors were very happy to bet on him big with the 4th overall pick. He's an insane defender, just an absurd, monstrous defender who's going to be a good NBA defender from day one. That is very, very evident when you watch him play. And then the stuff in the half court, the stuff on the run, the offensive side of the ball, again, there's fits and starts. There's going to be misses here. The free throw percentage needs to come up for sure. But when you look at the just sort of vision that he has, the basketball IQ he clearly has, that stuff I'm willing to bank on and bet that that's going to turn into, a more sort of well-rounded, fluid player. There's a lot to work with there with Scottie Barnes, and it was wonderful to see him show out after, a not so impressive game in their game against the Rockets. He only had 8 points. He was like 2 of 8 from the field, something like that. He had the 5 blocks, which of course he's going to bring because he's an insane defender, but it was nice to see Scottie Barnes kind of show out. And we saw another guy show out in Precious Achiuwa, who was, again, fantastic for the Raptors in Summer League. He's proving to be very much a guy who is going to be part of the team this season in a very big way. He had 18 points and 8 of 14 shooting. He had 6 boards as well. He's not taking the threes all the time. I think that, as I noted on Friday's podcast, is maybe more of a sort of Summer League anomaly that they'll maybe work on in the coming years. It's not going to be something to get excited about in the first year of Achiuwa with the Raptors, but the athleticism, the running the floor, the fact that he can kind of switch on to anybody. And, I think there might be some fears out there. He's only 6'8". I think there's some fears maybe that the Raptors are just going to go into this season again, kind of punting on the center position. I don't think that's entirely fair. I think Khem Birch is a totally, adequate center to have. If he's your starter, if he's your backup, whatever he is, if he's playing 25 minutes a game for you, I don't think that's a problem. And I think we saw a lot of exciting things with Khem Birch. And with Precious Achiuwa as your backup center, you could do a lot worse. The fact that he can play the Raptors' defensive system. There won't be a drop-off from Birch to Achiuwa when you go from the starters to the reserves. Or maybe Achiuwa starts by year's end. I don't know. But there's not going to be a drop-off. There's not going to be an adjustment in terms of how the Raptors have to play when Achiuwa comes into the game. And I think that's exciting. I think the fact that He is already kind of flashing some ball handling and some extra sort of supplementary playmaking. He's not going to run possessions for the Raptors at all this season. He's going to be the low man on the totem pole most of the time, but if he's running some possessions here and there, a little improvised pick and roll with another big, something like that, that's something you can dream on. That's something you can get excited about this season. And also, he seems to be developing a bit of chemistry with Malachi Flynn, and that's going to be critical. We saw so often last year the Raptors bench lineups, the Raptors lineups in general, when they had traditional centers on the floor, there was no connection, no symmetry between the point guard and the big in a lot of cases. Kyle Lowry tried his damnedest to get Aaron Baines paid. It didn't work out because Aaron Baines refused to catch balls, and I don't think we're going to see that being the problem with Birch and Achua. We saw Birch at the end of the season with some nice pick and roll chemistry already with Lowry and Flynn and Fred VanVleet. Obviously Lowry's gone, but having that chemistry with VanVleet and Flynn is going to be essential. Dragic as well, you'd figure will be a guy who can come in and, create chemistry with a big. He's already played with Precious Achiuwa before, so there's a bit of an edge there if Dragic is, in fact, on the team. It's pretty exciting stuff to know that Achiuwa is going to be there, and he's not just some throw-in to the trade. He's like an actual piece that you can envision being in the rotation for the team when they're really good again. Whether it's as a fifth man or an eighth man, I don't know, but I can guarantee you they're pretty excited in Toronto looking at Precious Achiuwa, the 6'8" dude who can dribble and play every position defensively. That is something to be very happy about. He very much fits the vision for the team, vision 6'9", all of that. And I think that's really fun. The other guy I want to hit on here before my voice completely tapers out and we get to the Leonard Hamilton chat is Freddie Gillespie. So look, it's been rough for Freddie Gillespie. Another bad game for him in this one against the Hornets. Just 16 minutes played, 2 of 6 from the field, minus 13, 5 boards, had a block in there, just 4 points on the board. And look, it's tough because we haven't seen a lot of Freddie Gillespie, and this is kind of the life for a guy in the fringes of the NBA where one bad stretch in any context, whether it's summer league, whether it is when you're at, training camp preseason, in the middle of the season, if you're on a 10-day contract, one bad spell can end your career in a lot of cases. It's the unfortunate reality of being on the fringes of the league. But I don't know if I'm fully in on the, Freddie can't be on the roster train, which kind of seems to be a sentiment that's growing after seeing him in Summer League where he's just looked totally out of sorts. Look, I don't think that you're looking at Freddie Gillespie as anything more than a third big long term. I think the fact that he doesn't really have an offensive game, he's mostly just putbacks at this point. I don't know if you're going to be able to massage more offensive utility out of him. He doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to shoot. He doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to be able to handle the ball. So he is really going to be dependent on if he can become like a dive man, which he has not shown a propensity for. And if he can't do anything on offense, then maybe there is no sense in having him on the roster. But I also think judging a guy based on 4 Summer League games is probably not the best thing to do. We already have a larger sample of him playing NBA games, albeit in garbage time of the season this year, of Freddie Gillespie being pretty good and being capable and passable and able to play reserve minutes and not sewer you because he can rebound and because he's a pretty solid defender. He seems to have some burgeoning rim protection chops that he's been working on so far in Summer League as well. And I wonder if maybe to sort of take a step back, cool down the Freddie Gillespie criticism train and just kind of wait for the preseason to come, see how the roster's shaking out. There's this sentiment that if he's not playing well, then he doesn't really, show out beyond what he did in Summer League in the preseason, that he's not going to make the team. And that might be true. And maybe there are better center options out there to fill in and be a third big. But I think if you're going into the season with a center rotation of Khem Birch and Precious Achiuwa, you want to have at least one other guy on the roster who can do something. And maybe that's not Freddie Gillespie. Maybe it's some sort of outside hire they bring in to replace Gillespie. That's entirely possible. But I would hold off on the, Gillespie's done with the team, sentiment after Summer League because it's not entirely a representative sample. It's weird. He's coming off the bench. He's clearly not the focus of the team. He's clearly behind Achiuwa and Barnes and Flynn in terms of the importance and the desire for the team to get them reps and run and touches. So, it's a tough environment for a guy like that. And if he's not kind of playing at his best and there's a bad spell, he's going to look particularly bad because he doesn't do a whole lot on offense, to be able to kind of bail himself out. So I would just say, hold off on like dooming Freddie Gillespie to missing the team right now. Wait till preseason comes around. Maybe he surprises. Maybe he comes in and there's not like an obvious guy to take his roster spot, and he can slide in as the 13th, 14th man and the third big on the team. And that's a perfectly fine option until something better comes along. But that's kind of all I got on Summer League. I will be watching the Tuesday game against the Brooklyn Nets to close out Summer League. That should be exciting. Looking forward to more Scottie Barnes, of course. Cameron Thomas on the Nets is going crazy in Summer League. That's pretty fun. So we'll have you all covered for that on Wednesday's podcast here on YouTube, of course. Before now, we get to the chat with Leonard Hamilton of the Florida State Seminoles. He's been a longtime coach there, turning out NBA players left, right, and center, lottery picks left, right, and center. I do want to tell you about a couple of wonderful sponsors here on today's show. First up, it is Sweatblock. Look, I'm a sweaty guy. You will probably see at some point on this YouTube show, as gross as it might be, that I'm a sweaty guy. But guess what? Sweatblock is in the mail. It's coming to my house, and I'm not so worried about it anymore because Sweatblock is all about making it so you don't have to be embarrassed by excessive sweating. I've dealt with this when you speak in public, when you're on television like I am sometimes. It's really difficult because you got to like choose your shirts carefully. You got to be worried about, oh, is that orange going to be too revealing of what the stains are going to be underneath? You have to worry about it all the time. It's a constant inconvenience, and that's why I use Sweatblock antiperspirant wipes. Sweatblock is stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. You simply apply it at night before bedtime, go to bed, and next morning you wake up, wash, and go about your day without worrying about sweat. Guarantee. They have a dry shirt guarantee. That's an incredible thing. It feels like it's too good to be true. I know what you're saying. You're like, there's no way this is going to work. But guess what? I literally only have to use Sweatblock once or twice a week, and it keeps me dry the whole time. No more pitting out. No more picking my shirts based on which one will hide sweat better. If you or someone you love is dealing with this, you have to check out Sweatblock. Get it today. It's for 20% off at sweatblock.com with the promo code LOCKEDON or at Amazon or CVS. Today's show is also brought to you by Indeed, which if you're hiring for a job, this is the place you should be using because managers are always asking, how do they find the best person for the job? What am I going to do? This applies to hiring for the workplace, hiring for basketball teams, whatever it is. You want the best candidates with the best qualifications. When hiring gets hard, you need Indeed, the job site that makes hiring incredibly simple. Just attract, interview, and hire. In fact, with Indeed, you can do all of your hiring in one place, even interviewing. Don't just hope your perfect candidate will find you. Indeed's hiring tools will help you cut through the noise to hire faster and smarter. In fact, Indeed Instant Match provides a list of quality candidates whose resumes are on Indeed at the moment you post a sponsored job. That is incredible. It's just working for you at all times. Join the 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast and get started right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job at Indeed.com/hangup, HANGUP, all one word. Get a $75 credit at Indeed.com/hangup. Indeed.com/hangup. Offer valid through September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. All right, let's get to it now. My chat with Leonard Hamilton, the head coach of the Florida State Seminoles, who has plenty of fun and kind and nice things to say about one Scottie Barnes. Enjoy. All right, joining me now here on Locked On Raptors, a very special guest. He's the head coach of the Florida State Seminoles, and so he was the head coach of Toronto Raptors' 4th overall pick, Scottie Barnes, this past year at Florida State. It is Leonard Hamilton here joining us on the show. Leonard, how's it going? Thank you for being here, and congrats on having a top 5 pick in Scottie Barnes this season. It's a fantastic accomplishment. What did it mean to you to see Scottie get picked so high?
I think Scottie is he represents that which is all clean, good, and wholesome, about the college experience. A kid that's eager, who's invested mentally, emotionally, spiritually into the basketball world. It's part of his life. He eats it, sleeps it, and he's a youngster that I think that people are going to fall in love with because of his enthusiasm, his love for the game, and his respect for the game. He's coachable. He's what you call a stat stuffer. He's a little different than I think maybe some of the older, more matured NBA players, and the fact that that he's a pass-first guy. He has an unselfish spirit. He's a stat stuffer. He does all the intangible things, the rebounds, the deflections, the steals, the enthusiasm, great locker room demeanor, a competitive practice player. And I think what you're going to find that as he adjusts to the NBA game, which is going to be an adjustment, for a 19-year-old guy that comes from a college environment where it's a little bit less ISO dominated. I mean, the NBA has become more and more of an ISO type team, and the guys who can make tough shots. In college, we move the ball, we make the extra pass, we have more time on the shot clock. Our defensive rules are different, so it would be an adjustment for a guy who's been in college for 1 year. But I think as he grows and understands and get adjusted to the system, I think what you're going to find is that he'll adjust and he'll be able to give whatever is needed of him in order to affect the game.
Yeah, and that's the thing I wanted to ask you about, Leonard. So your program is kind of known for not handing minutes out to freshmen just because they're highly touted, right? I mean, Scottie comes in, he's the sixth man.
That's not really the case. I think that we've gotten, because we're different and because we have a deep rotation. We're similar to the old Boston Celtic teams.
Right.
You know, when they Don Havlicek was the Hall of Famer, but he was a sixth man. He was a guy who they played a fast-paced offense. They were very aggressive on defense, and I think that we are a little bit. I took a page out of Red Auerbach's book. You know, play with a lot of energy, play unselfish, spread the ball, create opportunity for your teammates. And if you remember correctly, he won, I think it was 9 straight NBA titles.
They were pretty good.
So I'm not anywhere close to that, but I thought his system worked. And I've taken jobs where I've needed very much to have a lot of energy and play with a lot of unselfishness. And I've been in leagues when I first joined obviously the Big Eight with Billy Tubbs and Larry Brown, legends, Hall of Famers. I would go to the Big East with Connor Sucker and Boeheim and John Thompson and Calhoun. Those guys were legends. So I was building programs, and so it was easy for me to develop that type of system, and it's worked very well for us.
Yeah, so I guess that's my question about Scottie is, you know that it's a different system, right? You know, it's something where, it's not you're going to jump in and you're going to, play 40 minutes right away and sort of be all and end all. It's a team construct. And obviously it's really worked well for you. You're the only coach, by the way, who can boast back-to-back top 5 picks in the NBA. So congrats on that. That's amazing between Scottie and Patrick Williams. But with a guy like Scottie, what is it about him that you think made him ready and on board for that sort of team construct? He goes to Montverde. He is such a highly touted prospect, and he's willing to step in, come off the bench, and win ACC 6th Man of the Year. Is there something about his makeup, the way he's kind of wired, that made him specifically suited to your program?
Well, at Montverde, they spread the wealth. I think the man had 3 guys off that team was in the draft, and they have him every year. So he was adjusted. He was comfortable with sharing the ball and sharing playing time because they had great players. Scottie came off the bench not because that was a strategy of ours. He turned his ankle and he tweaked his groin, and we wanted him to be real warm when he came in the game. Sure. He started the first 9 games, but the last 18 games, we thought it was best for him to get on the bicycle for 2 minutes to really make sure he was warm so he could finish the season. Because when you tweak a groin, sometimes that's a challenging muscle to recover from. I want to get that straight. But he still plays starters minutes. I think he might play 27 minutes a game, and that's pretty high when you're playing a 10-man rotation. Very similar to what they do in the NBA. I think it's probably more like the NBA because, they have a set rotation. I'm not quite, that liberal, but I also think that that's similar. So he'll adjust to the rotation. But more than anything, his mindset is let me get on the court and try to do what it takes to win. So stat stuff, so like I said earlier, he's going to defend. He's going to get to do the dirty work. He's going to dive on the floor. He's going to contest shots. He's going to rebound. He's going to push it. He's going to try to make good decisions. When he learns the system, he'll adjust and get better and better as he figures out, how Coach Nurse wants him to play. And by the way, he's done an outstanding job.
Yeah, I'm curious about what you think of the fit with the Raptors. When you think about the teams that were in the lottery this year, most of them are kind of there every year. The Raptors were there once, and you don't think they're going to be back regularly. It was kind of a weird season with them with COVID and Tampa Bay. And they play a very sort of aggressive style of defense. They have a long track record of developing guys. It seems like they have this vision of having an entire roster's worth of 6'9" guys, which is kind of fun. They got their mad scientist caps on a bit. What do you think of the fit of Scottie in Toronto in particular?
Well, I've listened to Coach Nurse on several media outlets, and
Sure.
he likes to switch 1 through 5.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's challenging when you have a bigger, slower 5-man that maybe might not be able to contain a point guard. Well, Scott is suited for that. That's what we do. We switch 1 through 5, and I think that's in the day's game with ball screens and ball reversals. You have to have guys who can defend more than one position. Where at 6'9", 225, 30 pounds, as athletic as he is, he's quick enough to contain small guys, but he's also strong enough to play inside. So I think that fits. There's no doubt that he's a good ball handler, good passer, good decision maker. But sometimes it takes you a while to become a good decision maker until you learn the system. So you never learn how, what the coach needs and what the team needs for you to be successful. But I think that his energy, all those other intangible things, he'll bring to the table. Similar to, I think, the adjustment that a kid like Terrence Mann has made to the NBA. He's a pass first guy. He only averaged 11 points a game at Florida State, and gosh, he goes in the NBA game and scores 35, 36 points. I mean, that just shows that that learning and playing and being complete and all those other intangible things is what you needed. And I also think that his shooting will come around to the point where people are going to find that he'll knock down those jump shots.
Hi, it's the Monday version of Sean here, intervening from the Friday version of Sean talking to Leonard Hamilton to bring you a little bit of information about our friends over at rockauto.com before we get back to the chat with Leonard. RockAuto.com is amazing. They are a wonderful place to go. For me, I'm a terrible person. I don't know anything about cars. I don't know what goes into what. I don't even know how to boost my car. I would be absolutely lost if my car stalled out somewhere on the highway because I had no idea what I'm doing. But RockAuto.com is here for people who know about cars, who don't know about cars, and everyone in between, and they're saving you money. You could save 30, 50, even 100% off the parts you would pay money for at a regular chain store. For example, the Honda Odyssey fuel pump is like $353 on average from a chain store. RockAuto.com is selling it for $216. That is an incredible savings. You should be going to RockAuto.com for all of the car parts you need and no longer being at the mercy of the mechanic. The prices are reliably low for every customer, and their website is so easy to use that I can use it. That is telling you something because I know nothing about cars and also not very good at navigating new websites. I'm not so good at it. It's taken me a while to edit this podcast together, for example, as I do it for the first time. But that's okay. Rock Auto is here to make it easy for you. And of course, they are going to offer you all the selection, pricing, and choice that you want. That there's like endless options. It's not just one option that the mechanic is going to offer you for your part. They're going to have 3, 4, 5 different choices from different brands, different specifications, and of course the prices that you want to choose. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in there. How'd you hear about us box? So they know that we sent you as well. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the car parts you will ever need at rockauto.com. Today's show is also brought to you by Built Bar, who are making the best tasting protein bars money can buy. They're so good, and they have wonderful flavors for you to try. 9 flavors in their regular lineup, to be exact: coconut, cherry barcia, raspberry, mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel, strawberry, orange, cookies and cream, and German chocolate mint brownies. My favorite. But if you don't know what your favorite is, you can order up a mixed box, get 2 of each of the 9 flavors, and then choose for yourself which one you want to order a full box of, or perhaps a crate, perhaps a full truck's worth. I'm not here to judge. Built Bars are good. You might want an endless supply, and you'd be totally justified in wanting them because they're really great tasting and also healthy for you too. 17 to 18 grams of protein in the average bar, calories ranging from 130 to 180 calories. That's not a lot on either end of the spectrum. Only 4 to 5 grams of sugar and 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty, all good for you. And Built Bar is the official protein bar of the U.S. track and field team. They're very good at track and field. Is it because they eat Built Bars? I don't know if you can say that, but Could be. So why don't you try it? Go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. And that is the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. At some point, I will eat a Built bar on this podcast in video form. All right, let's get back to it now. My chat with Leonard Hamilton, rounding things out as we dig into Scottie Barnes as he heads into his NBA career and what Leonard Hamilton envisions for him. Also, does Leonard Hamilton like Toronto? We get to that to close out the show as well.
Yeah, that's been sort of the thing the Raptors have banked on a lot, is drafting guys who are sort of wired to compete and improve and put in the work to develop. And, there's no secret that Scottie's three-point shot's got to come, a ways here. And, I think we're seeing some sort of fits and starts in summer league, but you can see that the vision is very much there, and you can see that the determination is very much there. He's out there howling after hitting threes and screaming at the bench. It's a really fun type of guy to watch, the intensity that he brings. Do you think that's sort of, why the Raptors ended up making the bet on Scottie Barnes? It's a big bet. It's the 4th overall pick, but the personality wise, do you think he's going to be the kind of guy who is very much committed to that player development that the Raptors are so known for?
Well, I think when you look around the league, most of the teams that have ownership, management, and coaching connected, where they emphasize high character, unselfish spirit, I think that's what the Raptors are all about. And I think you can just bet that they're going to get better every year. They're going to represent the city, the wonderful city of Toronto, in a fine fashion. And I think right now they are moving in the right direction. And when you look back at the Miami Heat, the LA Lakers, the Boston Celtics, those teams have been successful for years and years and years. The stability of the franchise, the ownership, the administration, the front office, now the coaching staff, and then the players that seem like they have a certain way about them. And it looks like the Raptors are moving in that direction. It's not a matter of whether they're going to be successful. It's just how fast they're going to get there.
So let's go back a little bit here to when you're recruiting Scottie. I'm always really fascinated to hear about the first time you see a player play. Do you remember the first time you saw Scottie? Do you remember what made you think, okay, that's a guy we need on our team?
Well, Scottie is a long, lean, superior athletic guy. Mm-hmm. I like those kinds of guys. Versatility is what I like. It looks like that's a pretty good match with what Toronto's doing. Guys who are pass first guys with an unselfish spirit, high character, tremendous amount of energy. I think skill development is very important. You get those other intangible things you can work on and develop those skills, especially when you have a high character person who's willing to work. Sure. When I first saw Scottie, I just saw all those intangible things that I felt that would help us be successful, and I thought we were good for each other. He's a naturally unselfish spirit guy, and in this day and time where there's so much emphasis put on statistics that get your name in the paper, shooting threes and scoring points, he seemed to be the guy who always just wanted to figure out what I need to do to make sure we win. And his enthusiasm for the game and love of the game, I hope that he's able to maintain that. Sometimes with maybe older, more matured NBA guys who playing 72, 80 games a year, sometimes, that level of enthusiasm, sometimes you don't see as much. And I'm hoping that he can maintain that spirit. It's refreshing to see a guy who's not afraid to express emotions. And I think he brings that unique mindset to the Raptors.
Yeah, I'm wondering, this would have been a challenging season, obviously, for everybody going through COVID and the protocols and things like that, sort of an abbreviated run. I'm curious, do you have any sort of behind the scenes stories of Scottie kind of being that sort of leader type on the team? And was there an instance, a practice or something like that, a game where he kind of, was the guy who kind of got things recentered? Do you have any good Scottie Barnes leadership tales?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, he stayed in school and finished every one of his classes and made good grades, even though he realized that he was going to go put his name in the draft, which is unique in this day and time. Most kids drop out, they get them a workout guy and they move to Santa Barbara or Miami or someplace where they're working out with somebody who they think that is better suited for what the NBA workout, so to speak. Which says a lot about his character and his discipline and what he's about as an individual. But there have been times when we're on the road and we're traveling and we have a breakfast. Well, Scottie will come in the room and hug every player on the team, dap every coach before he sits down. I mean, that's unusual for a guy at 8 o'clock in the morning, but we're getting ready to have breakfast. And he's dapping every one of his teammates and the managers and everybody else before he sits down to eat breakfast. I think that's the kind of person you're getting. He comes into practice clapping his hands, let's go, and even while we are shooting in the layup drills, he's high-fiving everybody. And that's just the way he is. And that's refreshing when you see a player who not only is unselfish as a player, but he's unselfish with spirit and enthusiasm. And I just hope that doesn't get suppressed.
Yeah, whenever I think about the sort of slog that is the NBA season, and this past Raptors season in particular was tough because it was a slog also out of their own country where they were playing. I always think about, man, there must be like some guys who kind of help make this fresh and keep this moving along and keep this fun. And Scottie really does seem like the type who's kind of brighten up those January nights when you're playing in Milwaukee and you feel like, did we really leave at the hotel room tonight? It seems like Scottie's going to be really equipped for that. We're talking this morning after his third summer league game last night for the Raptors against the Houston Rockets. He had 5 blocks in the game. It was a stop and start offensive game for him. He picked up an ankle injury in the second quarter and missed some time, came back just for the half. But the defense is just so undeniable with him. I'm curious if you can kind of let us into what makes him such a good defender. It doesn't seem like it's just that he's 6'9" and long and huge. There does seem to be some really serious defensive instincts baked in there as well.
Well, I use the term stat stuffer.
Yeah.
He's gonna get steals, deflections, and a lot of things that a guy with his physical attributes bring to the game is sometimes unnoticed. He has a 7'2", 7'3" wingspan. Mm-hmm. You're dribbling the ball and you want to make the pass to someone in the corner, and all of a sudden you get a 7'3" wingspan goes up with his hands, who shuts down passing lanes. Mm-hmm. You're getting ready to make a pass to a guy, and you get a guy who just extends his arm, and where you can't make a chest direct pass to a guy who's coming off a cut. So now he has to throw the ball 3 feet farther than what he would have caught it with just the mere fact that he's taking his hand and putting it out. The fact that when you're shooting a jump shot, and he'll come from 10 feet and contest the shot, with a long arm and an athletic effort. Those things you don't really notice when you're watching the game, and those are things that don't show up in the statistical column. And what you're going to find when the game's on the line, his burst of speed is going to be a little different. The big rebound that you got to have, he'll be able to go get it because of the enthusiasm and the effort and the mindset he has. But I think sometimes what happens in the NBA, you forget that you got a guy who's a 1-year player in college. He's 19 years old, and you're comparing him with what you see 26, 27, 28-year-old guys do on a regular basis. And sometimes you forget that it's a process that you have to go through. And what people don't understand is we all want to make progress, but no one really wants to go through the process. And when you respect the process, there's learning, there's developing, there's confidence, and that's in the process. And you got to go through that process in order to toughen up and make mistakes and learn from them and grow. And I think he's going to go through the process, but he's going to go through it with energy and effort and enthusiasm. And then you'll see the progress he makes at the end. You'll finish the finished product. He's 19 years old. He's just learning the game. He's just adjusting. And if we can be patient with a guy like that, all the intangibles are there. He'll improve his decision making. He'll improve his jump shooting. He got to speed it up a little bit, but that's going to be fine. And then the finished product, I think you're all going to be pleased with.
Yeah, for me, the thing that I always look for in a player is like, does he have like a good basketball sense and kind of understand how to play the game? And that's pretty clear from day one with Scottie. And I also just love I have no idea what position he's going to play, and I don't think it matters. Like, he started off, he took the opening tip in the first summer league game and then ran the first possession as a point guard. Do you have any sort of inkling as to what Scottie Barnes' position is, or should we just throw the whole idea of positions with Scottie out the window?
Well, there's no doubt that he's a positionless player, and I think that's what the league is moving toward. I like the ball in his hands in transitions because he can always was a threat to take the ball to the basket. He's always has great vision, and he passes the ball. I am one whoever gets the rebound, that's my point guard for that possession. I think that the break starts quicker and faster, but that's the system that he'll just have to adjust to whatever Coach Nurse wants him to do. I just think that it's more difficult to know where to know where the offensive player is if he's has a variety of ways he initiate the offense. So I love whoever gets the rebound, push it, and I like to initiate the offense. But that's Florida State system. I'm not real sure that works well for the NBA. I like him filling lanes. I love him pushing the ball. I think that he'll adjust to whatever Coach Nurse wants him to do.
Yeah, and I mean, the Raptors have been really dependent on their transition game in the past, and they've done that before where, Pascal Siakam will grab the rebound and he'll be the one bringing it up the floor. Same with OG Anunoby. I'd expect we'll see that quite a bit with Scottie Barnes. I'll let you go with this, Leonard. Obviously the borders are still closed or whatever, and we don't know what's going to happen, but it sounds like the Raptors will be playing back in Toronto. Have you been to Toronto before? Or are you going to come up and see Scottie at some point?
I want to go on the record. I love Toronto.
There you go. Pandering to the audience.
I love spending time up there. I love staying downtown. The last time I was there, I have history with Messiah. Dwayne Casey, I recruited in Kentucky. Sure. I love the way I love the atmosphere, the outdoor venue, the enthusiasm of the city and how it relates. I have friends in Toronto, and I'm looking forward to coming up and spending some time when I get a break, which obviously is going to have to be early in the year. I'm going to try to sneak in there and enjoy a little of the Toronto Raptors atmosphere.
Well, we'll have to get you back on and talk about Dwayne Casey's stories, because that's a whole other thing we could get into, because Dwayne Casey holds a special place up here. But I've taken far too much of your time. Leonard, thank you so much for taking the time today to talk about Scottie Barnes. All the best this coming season. And, I guess we'll be talking to you again when you have another top 5 pick in the draft, surely this coming year.
Well, we have some pretty good players. We might not be all top 5 picks, but we have some NBA prospects. So why don't you come down and hang out with us a little bit and get to know us a little bit as well, okay?
As soon as the borders open, absolutely, I'm down there. Thanks so much, Leonard. Take care.
Thank you.